ask stupid questions if you want.
So we're back again after the coffee and cheesecake break. And where were we? We were at Igor Paevsky and Michael Ostapenko's game. Igor has just played knight to c3, and well, something has gone slightly strange in the opening. If black first of all has to plays bishop e7 and then plays bishop d6. I'm not exactly sure what black should play, but it should be something else, I imagine. I'm not a big fan of losing tempi. White just continues developing. Black is kind of aiming for e5 and bishop a3, I guess. And that will be answered by, hold your breath, knight to d2. Okay. Let's see. Bishop a3, yeah. I'm looking at e5. Does that lose the d pawn? And if it does, yeah, bishop a3 it just seems a little bit too passive. Queen c1, maybe bishop, swapping the dark squared bishop. So swapping your good bishop, taking on c4, surely not e5 because d5 would be annoying. Yeah, yeah. I have to say that white's control over the centre gives me pause. Okay, 98. Igor continues and now clears the d6 square. Always get rid of the blockading piece. Knight takes, and now this is already starting to look critical for black. He has no development. Black has got no counterplay anywhere, and white's infiltrating on the c file and playing pawn d6, and it looks horrible. Let's get this over and done with. Now f5, I wonder whether d6 immediately is good. May not be, it's unnecessary. Knight c3 is fine. And e4. If there was a Yugoslav grandmaster called Mišo Cebalo who wrote that the d-pawn, past d-pawn, is the nastiest pawn in chess. Maybe he was biased, he liked d-pawns. So knight b5, d6 is threatened again, and black's trying to escape by swapping. I suspect that's not going to work. Discover check is threatened. Knight f6. Okay, surely we must be ready. Just rook c5, okay. That's, threatening d6 check. b6, surely not. What am I missing? Queen e6? I must be missing something. No. Because, well, if queen e6, rook c8, surely. You should be able to see that from a plane, especially if you're sitting down and playing. Rook f8. Okay, a b3, and, Michael didn't drag the game out any longer and resigned. That was rather poor, I have to say, rather passively played by black. So let's see, Jade Noy against I.M. Leonard Sandler. The London system, or putting your bishop on f4, seems to be very popular of late. And so this is a Collie hybrid, I don't know, what would you call it, a London system or a Collie, or any ideas, Tyson?
Since I don't really play either, I'm afraid to Ramsey.
Okay.
Stick with London, but
yeah, London Collie, or Collie London, something like that. Bishop d3, white develops his pieces normally. Oh, g6. I'm already imagining Queen h5 and Bishop h7 mate somehow. Oh, okay, castles, fair enough I guess, but kind of looking at g6 I feel like somehow castling queenside. Maybe no, knight e5 doesn't work. I'd like to play knight e5 and then checkmate somehow. But it's not going to work. Castles, d6. Very strange way of playing. Yes, it's just obsessed with swapping pieces. That's a bad sign. For a young player to just want to swap pieces. As a young player, you should be trying to checkmate. And Leonid's just developing his pieces solidly. f5? No, c5. He's quite happy to allow e4. And, okay, I really need to know why white is not playing e4. Okay, well, he didn't. Bishop f4. And it's Jaden's dad. Come in just in time to hear me criticise his son for playing extremely passively this whole game long, instead of trying to checkmate Leonid. He's an old man, Leonid. If Jaden tries to checkmate him, he won't see it. Always try to checkmate old people like Leonid and I.
So he played too passive?
Yeah, whole game long. Every opportunity to play an aggressive move, he didn't take it. And the last one was unfathomable. So, bishop f6, and now he's given up the two bishops and control of the centre for no good reason. And Leonid is just making pointless moves, waiting for white to make more mistakes. Knight, oh! Okay, I don't understand either player's game. Well, what's knight e5? The assembled here are having trouble explaining the move. We're going to have to ask the player at some stage himself, but maybe he just well, it was his turn to move and he couldn't think of anything better. That's my explanation. Queen d7. I guess he just wants to play f6 at some stage, or I don't know what. No, he wants to play a5. h3. fc8. Okay, I'm starting to get the idea of black's plan now. What's white doing? Bishop f8. a3. So black wants to swap white squared bishops, which white needs to avoid. No, because this was the bishop that you need for an attack. And now only black's attacking by playing b5 and b4. Back to the center and okay. Yes, that doesn't really do anything except weaken your own king position, because now black does switch to the king side and plays f6. And white should of course play f4 to make sure that he can keep the position closed, now that he's misplaced his rooks on the queen side. And queen d6, black is now getting control of the dark squares. Okay, white's trying to occupy some black squares, but really there's only one piece, and that is controlled well by the bishop. Rook e2, not a bad move. Rook f5 by black, yes, makes perfect sense. King g2. And now black, after having transferred all his pieces back, continues his queenside advance, thinking that he's stopped white. Now the question is he right? h4. Okay, so white's moving forward. I'm at a loss to explain Rook f8 as well, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. Queen g3. Well, that's certainly a surprise, isn't it? Swapping pieces. And it's a draw. Okay. Well, that's an interesting game, I guess. Not exactly sure what's happening here. Why? Okay. White's probably not any worse. But, okay. And let's go on to the next game. He did draw with a strong international master, so the result is good.
The result is good. Yeah.
The result is good. Okay. In Shravan.
Thanks, Aleks.
Bye-bye. Are we on to round 6 again? So this is Shravan against, this was a forfeit, that's right. And a draw by Aleks Wohl against Ross Lamb. Let's see if this game is exciting. Queen's Gambit exchange. Queen a5. I guess with the idea of knight e4 or... Okay, well, White thought it was with the idea of knight e4 anyway. Bishop d6, knight e2, castles, queen c7. No. c5. Now, I guess one of the ideas of c5 is to make sure that e4 is not a threat. e4 and e5. So dc, bishop c5, queen d2, rook e8, knight to d4. Okay, bishop d4. No, a6. Okay, I guess. a3 by white. No, king h1 stepping out of the pin. And kind of threatening knight to b3. Mind you, knight to b3 could have been played immediately. Because bishop e3... Oh no, the bishop on d3 is hanging. So bishop e3, queen e3, rook e3, knight a5. Rook takes d3. So b5. Rook fe1. Yes. b4, knight e2, trying to pressure the long diagonal. c1, I guess White has to put his pieces somewhere. On open file, there's a good start. Bishop b7, hoping that someday the pawn on d5 will move. A subtle threat here by the white pieces. h5, b3, solid play by both players. Finally deciding the bishop is better off on another diagonal. White deciding the rook is better off on another file. And black actually makes a progressive move over protecting e3 and potentially playing e4 at some stage, or knight g3 and knight f5 is a good plan. So AB and knight e5. Okay, so black has missed his chance to play bishop e2, so will we see knight g3 or knight f4? Knight g3 heading for the f5 square. Makes perfect sense. Bishop to c8. Well, doesn't defend it often enough, so knight f5, yes. It's a good question actually. Is that knight more useful or not? And rook a3. Black decides to attack a white weakness. I guess queen c2 with some idea of doing something might be useful. No? Okay. Now, doesn't that kind of, after bishop f5, lose the b-pawn somehow? No, knight c6. That's another way to attack the pawn, yes. Queen b2 defends. So white is purely on the defensive. Black's pieces are much more active. Knight d4. I wonder why. Knight d4. I also wonder why. Why not ed4? I just like the idea of swapping the e rook while the other rook's on a3. So trying for a back rank trick somewhere. Rook a7, bishop f2. Thought better of putting the bishop next to the king. Rook to e7. What's going to happen now? Queen d2 makes sense. Rook e5. I'm not sure where that's going, but it does stop on knight f5, I guess. Bishop g3, and now it's going back. Yep. Bishop h4. Rook back to e5. Bishop g3, rook e7. Is that how the game ended? And that's how the game ended. Neither player could come up with any more constructive ideas, so they called it a day. Now, Aidan Brady won a game in 17 moves, so we'll have a look at that one. And a very popular line at the moment, the Grunfeld. And white doesn't seem to have any super sharp line prepared against the Grunfeld. Castles and b3. Yes, I'm not a fan. c5, yes, of course. Bishop d3, knight c6, adding pressure to the long diagonal. Yep. Castles. Well, these hanging pawns, I don't like this position for white. Well, first of all, dc4 now. After bc4, is there any reason why c takes d4 doesn't win a pawn? CD, ED, knight D. Maybe there's something, but bishop g4 is also a good move. But first of all, I'd calculate whether I can just take a pawn. And I don't see why I can't. Well, he has to play bishop takes. Yeah. Which is probably not something that he wants to do. So, but bishop g4 first, okay, that must be okay as well. Bishop e2, now dc. Does he play it? No. What's wrong with capturing dc? Why don't we just take stuff? Especially I want that bishop on g7 to take that rook on a1. So I'd like to take a few pieces out of the middle of the board. So rook c8. I mean, what kind of a move is that? Come on, is that a junior move?
I think he's still 17.
He's still 17, yeah. No, but I mean, a lot of juniors are also playing quite positional chess. I mean, here you can just take stuff. There is no excuse for not taking stuff. Rook to c8. Doesn't take anything. White just calmly develops. Couldn't be bothered thinking of anything else either. Now he takes it. Okay, too late. ed4. dc4. Knight to e5. What? How much material is that going to lose? Bishop e2, knight e2. Maybe not that much, but another pawn at least. Pawn takes. Queen takes. And knight d5. Is he saying that you can't take on b7 because of something? Oh, knight b6 is actually quite nasty. Let's see what in fact happened. Oh, okay. Because if queen b7, knight e5, d5, rook to b8, tends to be rather nasty. So rook d1, and queen to ik. Again doing the same thing on b2, if queen d5, queen b2. But of course, white is quite happy to swap off into an ending where he's just a pawn down for nothing, plus weak pawns. So I don't know if you're playing white what you would actually be hoping for here. Why would you swap? How are you going to swindle your opponent if you just swap queens? It's white. Well, maybe he's learned from the great Solomon, for whom it tends to work. But then you have to be a superb endgame player like Stephen for that to work. Knight takes. And resignation because of rook c2. Very, very nice. A very, very good game by Aiden. So let's see. Jason. This is okay. Ladies and gentlemen, openings like this, tell your children to go to bed. They shouldn't be seeing this. They might copy this behaviour. Tell them not to play d4 and f4 as the first two moves with white and blocking up their position. Teach them to play natural moves. White's, okay, gone off to chase rainbows. I guess maybe hoping for g6 when he can play knight takes g6 and checkmate. d6. He must be disappointed that g6 didn't come. Knight d2. Bishop c4. I'm not sure. d5. Bishop d3. So black seems to have done everything quite well so far. c5. Yep. Okay. c3. Very strange, unorthodox, I'll say, unorthodox play by white. Okay, this is a terrible move by black, releasing the tension on the centre. It has no benefits whatsoever and only downsides. What should black play? Well, perhaps a5, as in the Leonard Sandler game, so that you can threaten bishop a6, swapping off that good white bishop. Black would really like to swap the bishop on b7 for the bishop on d3, and if he plays a5, he'll be threatening bishop a6, which will achieve that aim. While now just blocking up the position and moving your pawns forward is probably not going to get you where you want to be. Now the bad white bishop is now moving out to h4, in which case it will no longer be bad. Okay, 6, and here he goes. The bad bishop is no longer bad. It's not bad. Bishop c8. Now, probably black thought to himself, oh, maybe I can play bishop c8, bishop d7, bishop e8, bishop h5 and copy white. Then both players will have gotten rid of their bad bishops. Thanks, rook takes, knight e5, bishop d6. Queen h4, queen e8. Now the bishop is not going to d7 and e8. Maybe black has other plans. Bishop to d1 to stop queen h5 later, and now the rook does go to h6, queen e1. Getting rid of the good bishop seems rather strange. Now black launches some kind of attack. White finally develops the last queenside piece, which is immediately swapped by black, and now we have a bad white squared bishop against a good white squared bishop. So white is significantly better here. Whether it's enough to score a point, I don't know. Wow, okay. So just g3 would be fine, because if queen h5, we have the spectacular h4, after which there will be no breaks. As he plays it, bishop b7. Black didn't fall for it. Maybe later. Queen d4. What? Some moves are painful. We can leave the door open if it's ajar. Yeah. So bishop e2,
No, it's fine.
rook a8, defending on f2. So what's happening now? Now black is just going to shuffle backwards and forwards for a while. And here it is. Black has finally arrived on the scene. And now that his pieces are all active, I guess he just offered a draw. And mind you, I don't really see a good breakthrough for black, but yeah, because white also has some pressure on the queen side, so yeah, fair enough. And Martin Post, Colin Davis, the last game for this round. And so we have a b3, knight f3, Reiki, kind of, I don't know what this opening is called, but putting your bishop on g4 seems to be a popular line. Now knight d7, no. Most commonly I've seen knight d7 here, where black then continues with knight f6 and constantly tries to play the bluff that he will play e5, and sometimes he carries the bluff out and sometimes he doesn't. But knight d7 is a good preliminary move. It will at least win you some time on the clock. It's always very useful. e6, g3, daring black to take on f3. I think in this particular position I'd be very tempted. Yes, and in fact Tony Davis has done it. E takes, knight f6, g2, c5, f4. So, okay, the position might be objectively equal, but I've always been a fan of two bishops in this type of position. Knight c6, castles, eminently logical by Mr. Post. Bishop e7, d3, castles, knight e2, so both players are playing logical normal moves so far. Knight d7, the idea of this, I presume, is to take more pressure out of the position by playing bishop f6. The downside of this move is that it allows a quick c4, because the knight on d8 is, the knight is no longer defending. Mind you, c4, bishop f6, and I don't think it can be taken yet, can it? So let's see, f5 instead. That's another way to do it, and it's in fact f5 is a very, very good move, because white wants to keep the position more or less the same, but to make sure that he gets rid of his doubled f-pawn. So black plays the logical move, bishop f6. Ooh, and now we have some tic-tacs. Pawn takes, bishop b2, rook b1, and two pieces are attacked, bishop c3, and ed7. And we still have material equality despite our little tactical melee. And after queen d7, rook e1, rook e8, rook takes. Now we see one of the big problems here. The bishop on c3 is just such a strong piece, it's eyeing the e1 square. For example, a move like knight to f1, trying to reroute the knight to e3 so it can put pressure on d5, would be met by rook to e1, which will force the win of the queen for the rook and piece. So knight f3, and just a consolidating move, g6, good move. And how white is going to ever challenge the e-file is the question I cannot answer. King f1, well, okay, that'll do. Well, not really, because it's not going anywhere. Yep, knight d4, is knight takes, he will take back with the c-pawn, I assume. Oh, no. Okay, he plays rook check first. Yes, of course. Queen takes, bishop takes, rook takes, and then takes back, yes. And this should be rook e5, a technical solution. c7 attacks the rook in c2, and white thought better of taking it and letting the queen in, because if rook takes d5, queen c2 not only recaptures the pawn, attacks the d3 pawn and the a2 pawn, but also threatens queen d1 checkmate. So it's a very, very nasty queen. So queen c5. Here's an actual question. What's a good move in this position to prevent white playing setting up a fortress? I would say b5. I mean, I don't really care about the pawn.
You're going to have to play on the queen side though, aren't you?
Well, the thing is, I
No
don't.
player anywhere else.
Well, I don't want white to be able to play a4. So because I want to play queen a5 and attack the a pawn. Now, if I play b5, bishop d5, queen a5, I'm at least going to. I don't need both e pawns. So, but now okay. Well, it wasn't played, but in this position after a4, I don't see how I'm going to be breaking through. So that's what I meant by I would have played b5 just to make sure that I get a passed pawn somehow, or I win a pawn on the queen side. Bishop f3 now. King g7. I don't know. These players don't seem to be on the same wavelength as. Now, okay, white's found a4, so how does king f6, g5? Where does the breakthrough come? Oh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. What am I missing here?
Maybe
there's a
maybe
mistake.
he's resigned before. Probably resigned and.
Oh, okay. So probably in this position after queen f6, let's assume there is actually no way to protect the bishop and the rook. So
He's resigned and then they've done a bit of analysis.
So there's a good chance that in this position, resignation was actually white's move. Although yes, it's difficult to see how if white just keeps his rook on e2 and has a fortress on the white squares, just keeps the bishop on f3, puts a pawn on g4, it looks more or less like a fortress to me. Anyway, so that's the roundup, ladies and gentlemen, for round 6, and we'll see you for round 7.